I played a secretary in the secretarial pool with the cutest little buns in the corporation, right? So my boss would chase me around the desk, Lois Nettleton, and get me up on the desk and start making out, And so then the phone would ring. She'd pick it up. Chuck McCann, who played a house husband, would say, Christina, I just want you to know that the mushrooms a la Bert are in the oven. and she'd say things like, Bert, lose 50 pounds, and then hang up. And go back. So the corporation was 17 women seated around this big table, and I would come in with the coffee and set the coffee down, and then I would
That's really ahead of its time.
Yeah, I'd say, be anything else, ladies? And they would say, no, Dan, thank you so much. And then I would walk to the door, and the camera would pan down to my butt.
Benztown President Dave Chachi Dennis loves radio and all of his radio friends.
Hey, Chachi.
Hey, everybody.
Because Chachi loves everybody.
My guest today helped define an era of television and left an unforgettable mark on pop culture. He's an actor whose charm, wit, and everyman presence made him a household name. Many know him as the steady voice of reason amidst chaos, leading one of the most beloved ensembles in sitcom history. Like so many in our industry, he's been a true inspiration to me. But his talents extend far beyond the small screen. He's had an impressive career on stage, starring in over 100 acclaimed productions on and off Broadway, and has appeared in numerous films, including the Academy Award-nominated The Insider and The Last of the Cowboys opposite Henry Fonda, as well as popular television shows like Murder, She Wrote, L.A. Law, and The Young Riders. His work span genres and generations, earning the admiration of audiences and peers alike. And yet, for so many of us, he'll always be remembered as the program director we all wanted to be, Andy Travis on WKRP in Cincinnati. Please welcome Gary Sandy. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, listen, would you say all that all over again? I mean, that was pretty good. Made me sound really good. But it's an old actor thing I like to use all the time. It's like, but listen, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What did you think of my last movie?
What a remarkable career. And we're going to get into this in a couple minutes, but you are going to be honored as a Giant of Broadcasting in November by the Library of American Broadcasting Foundation. And I'm really excited to meet you there. And we'll dive into some details about that in a little bit, but love to hear a little bit about growing up in Dayton, Ohio.
Wow. My friend Deborah, who lives across from where I went to high school, in between where I went to junior high school and high school, there's two buildings. And it was Dwight L. Barnes Junior High School. And when I was in the 6th grade, there was a 6th grade speech class. And I did a stand-up Bob Newhart monologue in the speech class. And the guy asked me if I would do it for the school assembly. And so I remember coming out between the curtains and doing this thing, and it changed my life. Everybody treated me differently. I mean, the teachers, the students, everybody. And this one, the principal of the school, I think, knelt down. I was a short guy, and said, "You're not going to remember what I'm telling you, but you have a thing called comedic timing, and that might be very valuable to you someday." Not only did I remember what she said, but it has been valuable. I never had to go to work. Because I was doing what I would do for free. But of course, I didn't want the producers to know that. But it's been just wonderful. My whole entire life has been exactly the way I wanted it. It's just fantastic.
I'm curious, were your parents entertainers in the entertainment business at all?
No, not at all. My dad worked for General Motors, and no, I don't know where it came from. But I've always known that that's just what I wanted to do. I told my mom when I was really young that I wanted to be an actor. I got a scholarship to go to college. In the state of Ohio, they have a thing called the Forensic League. And so I won a lot of speech contests when I was a kid. And I got a scholarship to go to school because of that. And then I announced to my dad that I wanted to drop out of college. Actually, my professor with the theater, was instrumental in trying to talk me into leaving school. And my dad got really ticked off at him. He went up and cornered him in his office. I found this later on and said, "You telling my boy to leave school?" And he said, "Mr. Sandy, I mean, he should go to New York. He should go to acting school. He can do it." And so finally I convinced my dad that I wanted to do that. In between, I went to a broadcasting school, of all things, in Atlanta, Georgia, started by John Cameron, Swayze, and these guys. And I did very well, but I finally convinced Dad that I wanted to go to school. And so I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, where Robert Redford, who just passed away, he went to the American Academy, and he spoke at my graduating class. Then right out of that, but you mind if I just keep rattling on?
No, this is fantastic. I'm loving this. What was it like going from Dayton, Ohio, where you grew up? And by the way, a quick mention to Deborah Parente, who we're mutual friends and well known on this podcast, a radio legend, and also a recipient, Giant of Broadcasting herself. She's incredible. And did you guys go to school together, or did you guys meet each other later on?
Not at all. I didn't know Deborah until met her 6, 8, 10 months ago or something like that at some function. And she's been very, very nice to me and is responsible for this thing in New York City.
She's terrific. So going into New York, was that culture shock?
Absolutely, but I just loved it. I mean, I was a street kid, man. 10 years I was in Manhattan, and I was uptown, downtown, crosstown. I was everywhere. And right out of acting school, I got a great gig. I worked for a theater ticket agency, and I worked all of the major hotels. They used to have stands in like the Pierre and the St. Regis and all that stuff, and I sold Broadway theater tickets. I got to know everybody in the box offices, and they passed me in for free. So I saw everything during that 10-year period. And then, I love to tell this story, the very first audition that I had for anything, other than, some theater pieces, was for As the World Turns. And I went in and I talked to a lady by the name of Jean Arley, who was the casting person for CBS. And we talked for about 5 minutes, and then she turned and said, "Well, thank you very much for coming in. You're a very nice young man." And I said, "I don't get to read?" She says, "Well, the character of Tom Hughes has just gotten back from Vietnam and he's very troubled. And I just don't think you're right for the role." And I said, "Well, I thought that's what acting was. You were given the chance to become somebody else." And so she kind of like tossed a 3-page thing in my direction, said, "Okay, you got 5 minutes." So I go out, I come back in, I lay the script down, and she says, "You don't need that?" Which was a good thing because you had to memorize quick. And I said, "No." So she read with me, and something about a guy and his mother, and he's given her some grief. And she says, "I have been in this business for 50 years, and I have never been as wrong." She says, "I still don't think you're right for the part because the way you read right now, you're too troubled." and she says, "But I tell you what," she says, "I will have you a part in 1 month." And she did. They wrote the character's roommate in, and I was the bad boy. And I had him on drugs. And that started like a 7-year career in soap operas, and always playing the heavies. I was always the bad guys.
Those shot in New York?
Yeah. I went from there. It was really cool. Procter & Gamble moved me, they sent me to jail, and moved me over to a new show they were starting called Another World Somerset. And I was the first long-haired guy on soaps, and I had hair down to my shoulders.
I could only imagine how thick that was.
Yeah, man. And it was great. And so I was on there for like 3 years. And then the coolest thing happened. It was just fantastic. I set out for about a year, and I was driving to California, and the agent said, "There's a guy by the name of Joe Mineta that wants to talk with you." And I'm standing in a phone booth. So I said, "Well, what does he do?" Well, he produces soap operas. I said, I don't want to do another soap. I can't top what I've already done. I can't top it. He said, just talk with the guy. He's a really nice guy. So I get on the phone with Mineta. He says, I need you on the show, Gary. He says, it's going to go off the air after 30 years. And I can tell you the date it's going to go off. I need you for 1 year. And I said, Mr. Mineta, I said, I can't top what I've already done. He says, let me, he says, where are you right now? I said, well, I'm in Texas. I'm driving to California. He says, why don't you tell me who you want to be? And I said, what? He says, who do you want to play? I said, well, I don't know. He said, you're in Texas right now. How about a cowboy? I said, a cowboy on a soap opera? You're going to do that? He says, if you say yes, we'll do it. They built barn sets. They brought cattle into the middle of Manhattan. They had chickens. They had everything. And it was the greatest part that I ever had. It was written especially for me, and it was fantastic. It was like James Dean and Giant. And man, I had the whole regalia. I was a nasty cowboy giving his mother grief all the time.
Yeah, let's unpack that for just a second. So you're on your way to California. Mr. Mineta calls you to create a show around you and to be this cowboy. So you do a U-turn in Texas and drive back to New York?
No, I think that I went on to California because I was going to come in like, a month later or something like that.
I see.
And the writer lived in like Michigan or something. And it was live tape. I mean, when I did World Turns, it was live. And, like one of the recipients in November is going to be David Muir.
Sure.
And, Muir, I Googled it. Muir plays live in front of 8 million people. When I did World Turns, it was live in front of 50 million people right now. It was really scary. It was
remarkable.
Scary, man.
And this is a weekly show.
Yeah. So even when we went to tape, it was still live tape. You never stop tape. You never stop tape. If you stop tape, you might get away with it one time. But if you did it twice, they'd get rid of you. You did not make a mistake.
So there was no room for errors.
No, that was it. And one of the things I love to tell, there was a guy on the show, and I didn't know anything about him. His name was Alexander Scorby, and Scorby was thought of as being the greatest voiceover guy alive. And that was even more so than Orson Welles. So as soon as I found out that Scorby was that kind of person, I couldn't talk with him. I was dumbfounded. So I found myself standing next to him at the wrap party because indeed it went off the air after a year, and I'm standing next to Scorby, and I said innocently, so you got anything going for yourself, Alex? And in this melodious thing, he says, well, yes, Gary. He says, yes, I do. I start tomorrow to record the New Testament. He's going to record the Bible.
It's the voice of God.
Right. Love that story. So anyway, when it came to, the soap opera career over with, and then I went to California and did things like you said with the Henry Fonda. I loved working with Fonda. So I was looking for a script that wasn't going to be the heavies anymore. I was tired of being the heavies.
How would you channel the heavies? How did you, was that something you had to really prep for, or could you just turn it on?
Yeah, pretty much so. I think that I enjoyed at that time playing the kind of guy that you really wouldn't want to hang around with. So when it came to me reading the script for KRP, I was positive it was going to work. And I really wanted that part, man, because it was everything I'd been looking for, the kind of guy that it was triple threat because I've always loved music. I've always loved acting, and I've always been in love with radio. And here it was, a triple threat. And so I screen tested with about 10 other guys. I don't know who they were to this day. I don't know. And, Mary Tyler Moore, love to tell this story too. Everybody in the room picked somebody else. It was the CBS executives, and it was an MTM production. So Mary was in the room, and apparently she stands up and says, Sandy's the guy. That's what I'm telling you. I think he's sexy. and if I do, so will millions of other women. And she walked out of the room and everybody said, well, I guess that's it.
You couldn't ask for a better endorsement than that.
Oh, man, it was great. And every time I'd ever run into her, I would always thank her. She said, you deserved it. It was great.
Tell me about the call. So does your agent call you to tell you that you got the gig, or how did you find out that you were going to be Andy Travis on WKRP?
Well, like I say, I screen tested. Now, who had the part already was Gordon Jump. So he screen tested with everybody, and so was with Gordon. He told me, he says, I was pretty sure that you were the guy. And Gordon was such a nice guy. He's in Dayton, Ohio. So, check this out. After Mom passed away, there was a thing in her closet that was a spotlight on youth or something like that. It was a periodical that she had kept ever since I was in elementary school. Somewhere in that thing, there's a picture of me, and it basically says that we think that this guy is going to grow up to be something. And the editor of the periodical was Gordon Jump.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Gordon Jump, who played by Arthur Carlson, obviously on WKRP. That is, right. But you guys didn't know each other. He just happened to write that. No. He
was like in high school, and here I was in elementary school or whatever, and he was the editor of the thing.
Man, what are the odds of that?
It's unbelievable. And he was the picture of himself in there was very suave. He was very suave. Gordon Jump was one of the nicest people that ever lived. I just loved him. He was great.
Yeah, I really loved
everybody. Now, I mean, that Lonnie Anderson just passed away.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah,
freaky, man. That was really freaky. And 2 days before, there were a couple of stools that she had given me years ago. And a year after she gave them to me, she asked for them back because she came hip to the fact that her dad had built these stools.
Okay.
So 30 years later, I get some new stools down in my basement at the farm. And I thought to myself, I got to give those things back to Lonnie. It's been 30 years. So I call her and talk with her. And she says, oh, yes, I remember those. I would like to have those back. And she just neglected to tell me 2 days before she passed away that she was in the hospital dying. It was really weird.
Heartbreaking. And you guys were pretty close while you guys shot that. Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know can't be easy. And she was such a presence professionally, and to lose someone professionally and personally is terrible. Going and getting this gig and shooting the pilot. Did you know when that pilot was shot? And I love that episode where the station is, you're going to flip it basically, and you get hired. And Gordon Jump, Arthur Carlson has second thoughts about it because his mom, getting upset and so forth. And did you know that was going to be the hit that it was? Could you feel it in that moment?
I really thought so. I mean, well, I like to say, when I read that script, I thought this is it. This is going to work. And I pat myself on the back a little bit because of the soap opera training and the 4-camera video. This was 4-camera video too. So on the night that we shot that in front of a live audience, there's like 400 or 500 people in the studio, because of the soap opera training, I really cut it. I mean, I really didn't make a single mistake. Everything was fine. But then CBS started moving the show around all over the place. And so finally, when they moved it behind MASH, it took off.
I mean, you couldn't. What a phenomenal lead-in, MASH, which was at the time. So when you guys are now doing this, and you've obviously had already an incredible career, but now you are on network primetime television, and have this gigantic hit of a sitcom. What was that celebrity like? What did that feel like?
When things were popping, they were really popping, and it was right around that time that it was really something. Howard Hessman, who's also passed, Frank Bonner's passed. There's just 4 people now that are still around. It's Tim, Jan, Richard, and myself. Richard, who played Les, and he was tremendous. He was my favorite character because Richard can be a little strange, but he's not. He's not less. He's not less. He really created a character, and Richard knew exactly what he was doing all the time. He knew exactly when he was going to turn a page in a book. It was just a great character. So Howard and I used to argue all the time. He said that we did 92 shows, and I said it was 90, and it turned out we were both right because 2 of the episodes were an hour long. So we did 92 half hours and 90 shows. So we were both right. Howard was a real into improv. You have to give me my lines. I mean, I can't improv for beans. And then you shove me out there. But Howard, he could just run with anything. Anything goes wrong, he could just improvise. He was really talented.
Walk me through a day in your life when you were shooting WKRP.
It was, like I say, the job of a lifetime because you would come in on a Monday at, like, say, 10 o'clock in the morning. The network executives would be there and you would have a table reading with the script. And then they would say, okay, lunch. And so a half hour later, you'd go to lunch. So by the time that you came back, they had already been upstairs rewriting because they knew what worked and what didn't work. So we would go to the set, we rehearsed on the set, and the pages would start coming down. So between Monday afternoon and Thursday, it was basically the same. You would just go on with the new pages and rehearsing. And then Thursday was camera blocking. So you would take all day to block. And then also my suggestion, I'm taking a little credit for this. We used to shoot in front of a live audience twice on a Friday night. Usually both times you made the same mistakes. So they would have pickups till the wee hours of the morning, till 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that, of what had gone wrong. So after about 6 episodes that we shot, I said, why don't we shoot this in the afternoon on a Friday and do it in front of a live audience one time? You'll have the whole entire show in the can. No mistakes. Will be better rehearsed than ever before because we will go slowly and shoot it. And then we go full tilt boogie in front of a live audience at a Friday night. So that's what they went to. And so there were no pickups because we already had it in the can. And so at about 8:15, and we started at 7:30, we're done. And then we go home.
Incredible.
And you'll go back into your dressing room and there would be a script laying there for what would be the following Monday, and you'd go home and you'd have Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, to just read through the thing and get familiar with what's going to happen on Monday morning again. That was
so
it.
It's a lot goes into putting together a 30-minute sitcom. I mean,
absolutely. And the audience, and what you hear is really what happened. That's very, very seldom that they ever maybe smooth over an edit with some ha-has and stuff like that. But what you're hearing from that audience is what really happened. And so that's the real McCoy laughter.
When you hit and this show becomes a Behind MASH is a massive success, tell me a little bit about your personal life at that moment. Are you, the celebrity side of it?
Well, I knew some girls. The show helped out. Let's put it that way.
Was that just though? I mean, growing up in Dayton, now you're here in LA, and it's Hollywood, it's glamorous. Is that something that you ever really got used to, or was it a little bit? I guess uncomfortable is the right word, or did it feel bizarre?
What I always wanted to do is I wanted to be on Broadway. So it definitely helped. I mean, I saw guys coming when I was living there during the 10 years who were on television, and they would come back and they would take over these roles on Broadway. So I went to California to try to get something so I could come back to New York and be on Broadway. And that's exactly what happened. And I came back and had very big success. I mean, Pirates of Penzance was one of the coolest gigs ever. I mean, Kevin Kline won the Tony Award for the Pirate King, and he created this character that was, a swashbuckling, it was a rock star. You sword fight 10 guys and, at the same time and win, and then you would stab yourself in the foot. And go around in a circle with your foot point, So it was
walk it off.
Funny. It was a funny character the way that Klein did it. It was really great.
What's some of the? I'm come from the radio side of the business, but what are some of the differences between the demand on you as an actor between being on stage on a Broadway show versus a television set like KRP?
Well, it's really hard. I mean, you got 8 shows a week. You can't be late. You can't be sick. You gotta just do the 8 shows, And I've done, a lot of shows in Manhattan, but I've done 3 national tours of a year and a half each tour, like 55 cities each time. So you're moving around and you never have time off because you just move to another theater on your day off in another city. So it was really, really hard to keep your energy going, but it's what like I said, it's what I always wanted to do. So it was not a job. It was just the greatest thing. It's been a great life.
And probably a higher, I'm guessing, because when you're on a sitcom, it's a different show every week. And so you've got new material. When it's a production, it's the same show. So there's probably a different level of perfectionism that goes into the little nuances.
Well, one of the things that I always kept in mind, and a good way of looking at it, I think, the tickets weren't cheap to go see some of these national tours. So I was aware of the fact that you have a guy and a gal, whatever, and they bought 2 tickets. And like I say, they weren't cheap. So I would always go out as if it were the first time that I ever did it. And I'm working for the audience. I'm working for the guy that's got the date in the audience, and he just bought 2 tickets, and he deserves for me to treat it as though it's the first time I've ever done it. And it kind of worked.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal motivation, and I'm sure it gives you people. And I think about that a lot, especially today with sports tickets and how expensive it is to take your family to something and to give them your all and put on an incredible show. It's a very cool thing that you did that. You did 100 theatrical productions. I mean, the body of your work is remarkable. You did the Children's Mass, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Sheba, some of your Broadway highlights, as you mentioned, The Pirates of Penzance, Nightclub Confidential, Chicago, Billy Bishop Goes to War, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. That was a national tour opposite Anna Margaret.
That's correct. She's a very, very good friend of mine. Both she and Roger. Now, Roger passed away like about 5 or 6 years ago. Anne Margaret is a force. I mean, really. It's embarrassing to say, but, with me doing 600 shows with her in Best Little Warehouse in Texas, I always said. One funny thing happened, and I thought they were kidding me. I was in Florida, and I guess it was a religious channel. I don't know. But just before we went on the air, like 5 seconds, the guy turns to me and he says, "By the way, don't say the name of the show." And I'm dumbfounded. I'm thinking, I'm here to promote the show, right? Best Little Warehouse. And he's telling me not to say the name. So we're going along, and he mentions Clear Channel. And I said, wait a minute. Does Clear Channel own this station? He says, yes. I said, well, Clear Channel is the producer of the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And he cut me off.
Really?
And told me, I said, do not mention the name of the show. And they kicked me out of the station. I thought they were kidding.
And no one kicks Andy Travis out of a station.
But it was it's been, so what else?
When you're working on a show like the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with someone of Anne Margaret's stature, and you also, I want to talk about your work with Henry Fonda, but I mean, these are massive stage presence, actors and actresses. Is there a different level of gravitas that you feel on the stage? Does it impact your performance at all?
Well, here was one of the things I learned a lesson from this, I'll tell you. Like I say, working with her in Whorehouse, 700 times. Right afterwards, she recommended me for a part opposite her in a Hallmark movie. So I'm working with her in this film, and I'm thinking, she's not doing anything. I'm acting circles around her. She's not doing anything. And then I saw the movie. She was thinking it. And man, oh man, certain people are born to be movie stars. And she's one of them.
Isn't that something?
She just jumps off the screen, and so did Fonda.
Tell me about working with Fonda. In that film, was up for an Academy, or did it win an Academy Award?
Well, he thought it was going to be his last movie. He was kind of sick at the time. And they changed it to The Great Smokey Roadblock, which I always thought was it was because Smokey and the Bandit had come out. And so they changed it from The Last of the Cowboys to The Great Smokey Roadblock.
Okay.
Fonda was extremely nice to me. And I'm the butthole in the movie, And
when you're saying you're the butthole, you're back to being the villain again?
Well, it was just a jerk.
Okay.
And Fonda, at one particular point, I'm giving him some crud, and I'm sitting across the table from him in this restaurant, and he reaches across the table, this part of the script, and yanks me up out of the chair, and he gets really close right into my face. He says, "I told you no once, cowboy. You get in my face again, and I'll kill you." And then he throws me kind of on the floor, and I had hooked my foot around a chair on purpose. And the chair flips, and I go down on the ground, and then I get up and I tell him, "You're going to need a lot of luck, old man." And I storm out of the place, right? But Fonda, this really happened. His character dies at the end of the film. And so I had already bit the dust. They got rid of me because I was a jerk. And so I ride out to the shoot with him and his wife, Shirley, in their motorhome. I say to Shirley, I said, "Are you going to come over and watch the scene?" She says, No. Hank wants to walk with you. You just go on. So we're walking through the woods, and the sun's glitting on your face and stuff like that. And he wasn't much of a talker anyway. And he's not saying anything. And I become hip to the fact that I'm walking with Henry Fonda to his funeral, because that's where we were going. And we get there, and the scene had just started, and there was a group of people around the grave, supposedly, and they start singing, "I Can't Help It If I'm Still in Love with You." And nobody knew that we were there because we were standing back of the crew. And I hear this noise, and I look, and tears were dripping on his shoes. And I was dumbfounded. And then they said, "All right, cut." And he puts on a big smile, and everybody came hip to the fact that he's standing there. And he says, "That was nicely done. It's a nice scene." And nobody knew. And so I'd like to say to Jane Fonda sometime, when she said her dad was kind of cold, that's not the guy I saw.
Had a lot of feelings. How long after that did he pass away?
Not very long.
Oh, what a shame.
I mean, seriously, like 2 or 3 months or something like that.
Mm.
Oh, I take that back. He thought it was going to be his last film, but he did On Golden Pond. So maybe it was a year later.
Okay. But he was already ill. The weird thing about that was one of the guys I worked with on a soap opera, Ernest Thompson, wrote On Golden Pond. Wow. All these interconnection.
Yeah. And Ernest always said, I says, "I want to be a writer." And I thought, yeah, right. Well, good luck. He wrote On Golden Pond.
let's talk a little bit about, you worked on a Norman Lear production as well, All That Glitters.
Oh, God. My dad did not get that show at all. It's the changing of the sex roles. It's God in her infinite wisdom created Adam, Eve, and it came from a rib or whatever. So the world was totally run by women. I played a secretary in the secretarial pool with the cutest little buns in the corporation, right? So my boss would chase me around the desk, Lois Nettleton, and get me up on the desk and start making out, And so then the phone would ring. She'd pick it up. Chuck McCann, who played a house husband, would say, "Christina, I just want you to know that the mushrooms a la Bert are in the oven." and she'd say things like, "Bert, lose 50 pounds," and then hang up. And go back. So the corporation was 17 women seated around this big table, and I would come in with the coffee and set the coffee down, and then I would
That's really ahead of its time.
Yeah, I'd say, "Be anything else, ladies?" And they would say, "No, Dan, thank you so much." And then I would walk to the door, and the camera would pan down to my butt. And my dad said, "That is the most castrating thing I have ever seen in my life." I said, "Dad, you're missing the point. You don't get the point." I'd be sitting at like Joe Allen's, who I used to exercise with, and that's an actor bar in New York. He also had one in Los Angeles. And, 2 or 3 women would come over and say, "Hi, Dan, can we buy you a drink?" So just rubbing things in. Well, so Norman Lear, he was really a nice guy. I liked him a lot. It was a fun gig.
And to give you some context, the hits that he produced, All in the Family, Maude, One Day at a Time, The Jeffersons, he really produced some smash television series.
Right.
The list of people that you've worked with and the success that you've had in this industry is really quite remarkable. And it's no wonder that you are being honored by the Library of American Broadcasting Foundation and being honored as a giant. Not only is your career incredibly inspirational, but you're just an overall incredibly nice person. Deborah says nothing but fantastic things about you, and I'm really enjoying this. And I got a few more questions for you if you don't mind.
One of the things that I've heard a lot, which is very gratifying, is somebody will say, "I'm in radio because of you, or because of that show," and it's really a nice thing to hear.
100%. Darren, who's sitting across from me, we were just having that conversation as we were waiting to start this recording. But there isn't anyone in this industry, in the radio industry that doesn't know who you are and hasn't watched all 90 or 92 of the WKRP in Cincinnati episodes. You just did such what a wonderful piece of work. And it certainly is something that I think still holds up today. Ahead of this, I was watching a few of the episodes, and the turkey drop, one of my faves, and it was just so clever and well done.
A lot of other people think that that's the one. I thought that it was, I tell you why. It's because of Gordon Jump. Gordon Jump, only Gordon could have delivered that line, "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." And standing there with their suits all torn apart by turkeys who attacked them.
I swear to you, because I get all the industry trades, every year at Thanksgiving time, that episode comes up in the industry every single year. It is an absolute classic.
My favorite episode, I think, and it was the 7th one we ever did. It was called Les on a Ledge. Les is threatening to jump because he was barred from the locker room at the stadium. And this other storyline is, in order to get Herb off of Jennifer's back, he's always asking her out all the time, the Frank Bonner character, Johnny tells Herb that Jennifer used to be a man. And Frank Bonner, he says, "You mean to tell me that get out of here?" And Howard goes, "Okay." He says, "Wait a minute. You mean they do this like 6 or 8 times? You mean to tell me that get out of here?" Okay, wait a minute. It's funny.
Yeah, they kept on getting interrupted.
So then I leave the office and the door cracks open about that much. And you see Frank's eye staring at the Lonnie character. And then she looks towards the door and the door slams. and then the next thing, cut to another scene where he's marching up and down in back of her, looking at her. And she finally says, "Herb, what are you doing?" He said, "I don't know. You want to go bowling?" In other words, the Frank character says, "Frankly, I don't care. I still want to go out with you."
And when you think about those topics now that are commonly addressed, but
right.
Both WKRB and Glitter was so ahead of its time, and really well put together shows, and just incredibly funny. Were you involved? Like, did you guys get together as a crew? Would you hang out and go get a beer together? Was it a pretty tight-knit group like that?
It was great. I mean, the number one, my dressing room was Mary Tyler Moore's dressing room. I could have lived in the dressing room. I mean, it was bigger than my house. It was just terrific. Yeah, so we hung out. My best buddy the first season was Tim, who played Venus. And then I started hanging around with Gordon. He was just... And
solid.
Like I say, from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I'm really honored to be from Dayton, Ohio. I mean, the Wright brothers. I mean, there's a cemetery in downtown Dayton where you can walk right up to the Wright brothers' graves. I mean, there's Orville, there's Wilbur, right there. I just find that to be dumbfounding.
In the Space Museum in D.C., there's a whole huge room dedicated to the Wright brothers and their first flight. It's really fascinating to see. There's
3 airplane hangars at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at the museum. If you ever get a chance, you gotta come to Dayton and go to that thing. It is phenomenal. I mean, they got a Concorde plane hanging from the ceiling.
Jeez, I would love to see that. Yeah, I am so impressed with flight and space. I love to suck all that up. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. Do you still act? Do you get on stage occasionally?
Yeah, most of what I do is radio drama. Number one, you don't have to memorize as much, and you can read it. And then you'll every once in a while go into a scene as though it was a play, and then you come back over and read some more. Stacy Keach does the audio versions of Mike Hammer, but I'm the only guy that has done Mike Hammer on stage. And it's a tremendous character because, it's pretty neat. You come on the stage and, take off your trench coat and hang the trench coat up, take off the hat, and then walk down towards the audience and address them right to them. It's just terrific. One of the hardest things, and you mentioned it, that I ever did was Billy Bishop Goes to War. It's about the most decorated pilot in World War I was not Rickenbacker. It was Billy Bishop, who was Canadian. It's 17 characters. You play a French nightclub singer,
Jeez.
So you're doing 3 character scenes with yourself. It was just a tremendous play. It was just 2 platforms coming across like this. And at one particular time, you're playing a mechanic, and you take the apex out of the 2 things, flip this switch, and the thing comes up, and you realize it's a plane. And then this background, and suddenly you're up above the clouds. And you've set yourself down inside the plane. And it was just terrific.
How do you prepare for a role like that?
You go over and over and over and over it. One of the cooler things that I did also was I played the Ryman Auditorium, the Grand Ole Opry. That was also a really interesting thing because I was married for about 5 minutes and 5 years actually. But
yeah, I've been there. So is Darren. We know that.
Well, in the divorce settlement, I parted with some money. So I was rehearsing. We read a play that I was supposed to go up and do in Santa Barbara. And the director says, okay, we're just going to do the first read through. He says, now I know that nobody's making any money at this. He said, so if you get a job, we would understand that you have to leave. So we read the script and he says, all right, let's take a lunch break. And so we take a lunch break and I get this message that someone from the Ryman Auditorium wants to talk with me. So I call this guy and he says, hi, I run the Grand Ole Opry, the Ryman Auditorium. And he said, you've been recommended for this play that we're going to do called Cotton Patch Gospel. And he says, I need you for 6 or 8 weeks. And I said, well, okay. He says, but I can only pay you X number of bucks. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was like good money. And I said, okay. I said, how long is the rehearsal period? He says 2 weeks. I said, well, I hate to say it, but I mean, I couldn't take anything less than what you're paying me for the performance week for the 2 weeks of rehearsal. He said, no, I got no problem with that. Great. So I said, okay, sure, I'd like to do it. He said, well, I'll send you the script overnight. He says, but you got to be on a plane on Monday. So I said, okay. So I come back after lunch and I say to the director of the play, by the way, I got a job. And he got ticked off. He just gave this big speech about how, if you get a job, we will understand. So I get the script and I get on the plane and I hadn't read the script yet. So I'm reading the script as we're flying to Nashville and I realize it's a one-man show.
Holy moly.
It's about Jesus Christ and what would he do if he came back today with used car salesmen and people like that. It was with a country western band and 17 gospel singers and me.
That's quite the production at the Ryman.
At the Ryman Auditorium, and I became hip to the fact that there's this place on the stage called the Patsy Cline Circle. And if you stand there, which was where she always stood, you can hear yourself because it's all a wooden theater and you can hear everything. It comes back at you. It was a wonderful experience.
It's, if you haven't been to the Ryman, and there's pews in the Ryman like a church. It's,
That's right.
I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful facility. How long did that production go for?
I think it was like about 6 or 8 weeks, something like that.
Is that anxiety inducing to stand on stage? Obviously you have musicians with you, but to have to carry a show largely by yourself? I was pretty paranoid. Yeah, I would be too.
But once you get going, it was a wonderful experience. Wonderful. The first time I was ever in Nashville years before, I was on a publicity tour for one of the soaps, and there's this place called Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. Tootsie was alive. So we walk into the place, and I get introduced to Tootsie, and there's a backstage door that leads directly across the alley into the Ryman Auditorium. Tootsie at the time handed me a black and white picture, which I still have someplace, and says, this little girl is going to be famous. And it was Dolly Parton.
Amazing.
And I worked with Dolly Parton.
Where did you work with Dolly?
The Movie of the Week.
No kidding.
And once again, I'm a creep.
On November 14th, Gotham Hall in New York City, your favorite city, we're going to be honoring not only Gary Sandy, but Leslie Visser, Hall of Fame sportscaster. We're going to be honoring Rick Dees, a mentor of mine.
Oh,
legendary.
Rick Dees, right.
radio host is going to be there. David Muir, as you mentioned earlier, from ABC World News, Dick Ferguson. It's quite the docket, and we are so honored that you are going to be there, and what an incredible award, and obviously well-deserved. If you are interested in tickets, you want to reach out to Debbie Began-Karsich, 732-245-7799. That's 732-245-7799. It's a wonderful event, again, on November 14th at Gotham Hall in New York City. Gary, I am looking so forward to hanging out with you. I am love to catch a Broadway show with you. I mean, that would just be truly, truly cool. I want to leave you with a quick bonus question. What would be your advice for people that are looking now to break into the TV business and to be an actor?
You just can't give up. You can't give up. You just have to keep pushing. Just keep pushing. So I've always found that if somebody didn't want it badly enough, probably they shouldn't have gone into it in the first place. Because that's it. You just have to, and I've had some wonderful experiences. Something that just popped into my mind. When I was in New York, I used to exercise gymnastically, and there were these guys in the class, and I didn't know anything, and I became hip to the fact that some of them were actors. So I said to Roy, I said, I hear you're an actor. You got anything going? He said, yeah. He says, I got a part in a movie coming out. And I said, well, I'll go see it. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'll just tell you the truth, what I think. And I'm thinking he's going to be the spirit chucker from the left, And it was Roy Scheider. And it comes on, it says, Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider in, and I'm thinking, whoa, he's got the lead? So the next week when I go in to exercise, I said, hey, Roy, I've caught your movie. I thought you did a pretty good job.
Thanks for listening to Chachi Loves Everybody. If you like the show, we hope you'll leave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends. Make sure to follow on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. This has been a Benztown McVeigh podcast production. Hosted and researched by Dave Chachi Dennis. Engineered by Darren Silva and Megan Vasquez. Produced and edited by Jake Urbanik. Show coordinator Suzanne Aksu and Robbie Gessel.